Hello Michelle. I've mentioned before how I find it hard to find clothes that I like to wear. I find a lot of the clothes just really boring basically. I should probably just buy some plain ones and get some paint pens and draw on them. There are a few cool big design markets in Melbourne, Finders Keepers, the big design market, and I follow them on Instagram because when they post that, it's often showcasing products by local product makers who are making something a little bit different from what you can find in the mainstream stores. And I saw these tights float by on Instagram the other day and I thought they were super cool. They're all sold out. I hope that Julie White has much success with her range and brings out many more, and in the future I might buy some. Next, Brit Marling. I haven't really watched much of hers. I watched like the first couple of episodes of the OA and it really kind of freaked me out. I knew it was going to give me nightmares. If you have watched the OA, if you can remember kind of what happened a couple of episodes in, you might know what I'm talking about. And I've made a note to have a look at her other movies because I think she does really interesting work, but I haven't got around to it yet. She has written a piece on what's been happening with Harvey Weinstein and her experiences as well. The piece is called Harvey Weinstein and the Economics of Consent, and I just want to read apart from the last paragraph. So she talks about being essentially trapped by Harvey Weinstein herself and enduring his advances and having to make the decision whether to stay there and maybe her career will be like golden and blooming by the morning, or whether it will fizzle and die because he has so much power. And her last paragraph begins, "Part of what keeps you sitting in that chair in that room enduring harassment or abuse from a man in power is that, as a woman, you have rarely seen another end for yourself. In the novels you've read, in the films you've seen, in the stories you've been told since birth, the women so frequently meet disastrous ends. The real danger inside the present moment, then, would be for us all to separate the alleged deeds of Cosby, Ailes, O'Reilly or Weinstein from a culture that continues to allow for dramatic imbalances of power. It's not these bad men or that dirty industry. It's this inhumane economic system of which we are all a part." I thought that was wonderful. I thought the whole piece is really wonderful. I think that she has written about it beautifully. She has a really good point of view on it, and she's seen the larger picture in a very, shall we say, woke way. Oh my goodness. Have you ever felt like this? Strange things happen, are you going around the twist? My friend Emily put me onto this book here. She follows the artist slash illustrator slash author on Instagram and saw that Lorna Scobie was putting out a new book, and she sent me the link and said, "This looks so cool," and I wrote back and said, "Let's do it." And so she got us both a copy and we started yesterday, and it's what it says on the cover, 365 Days of Art. It's a beautiful book. It has like an intro and talks briefly about materials that you might want to use, and has a big chart of all the days that you've got to go. And then it begins with number 1, colour or create a pattern. So this is what I've done so far. I need to finish it. I wasn't quite sure where I was going, but I kind of wanted it to be inspired by the colours from this Papergang stationery that I got. This is a set of stickers here, but they also sent through a coaster, a drink coaster that I have in my bedroom that I was looking at when I was looking at the colours for this, that I wanted to kind of represent those colours. And today this is the one that I have to do, which is like make all of these into little critters. Yeah, and just every day there's something to do. The next day is drawing buildings. The next day is swatches of colour. So that'll be something fun to do, and maybe it will give me some little ideas, get me inspired to make other little things. I think it's a wonderful project, and I don't know if you follow Emily on Instagram, but I'll link her account below. I think that she has excellent aesthetics and she is a wonderful artist. She doesn't consider herself an artist, I don't think, but I think that she is. So I wanted to talk about these two moments, this incredible acting. I'm really in awe of acting. I know that I'm no good at it. I have tried when I was younger, and I get incredibly self-conscious and I can't be in the moment with it. I'm just thinking about I'm acting. I watched Halt and Catch Fire, and then an hour later I watched The Good Place, and I was blown away by these two moments in them. So in Halt and Catch Fire, and I'm going to try to describe this without any spoilers or anything like that, there's a character who's always got her guard up, and she's always cynical and sarcastic and mocking everything and defensive, and someone else says something that sounds genuinely nice and appreciative, and it's such an amazing kind of moment and connection, and really appreciating her as she is, not asking her to change, sort of thing. And you see this look come across this character's face, that she's let her guard down for a moment, that she feels touched, she feels like she hears this compliment, and she's not saying anything sarcastic back, she's not fobbing it off, and it's really meaningful to her, and it's a really meaningful moment. And then later on in the show, she realizes that it wasn't what it seemed, and the guard goes back up, and I just don't know how they even do that. Like, how do you sit in front of a mirror and practice a look of you're stopping your sarcasm and your defense and you've let your guard down, and then how do you practice a look of nope, it's all back up again? I have no idea how this actress has portrayed this, but it's incredible. You just see when those defenses switch back on again. And then I was watching The Good Place. There is a super being on The Good Place, played by Ted Danson. Amazing. And Ted Danson says these lines that is an apology. And first of all, he says these lines in a sarcastic way, but there's this double meaning, perhaps because you don't know if he's truly feeling that it's a sarcastic way when he's saying this apology, or if he's actually saying it in a sarcastic way as like a bit of a defense, and that, you know, he feels a bit vulnerable, so he's putting up a shield himself. And then a human says to him, say it in a genuine way, meaning, you know, when a human says that to another human, you know, say sorry like you mean it, sort of thing. And then the human might reflect and say it like they mean it, but also maybe mean it that time. But this is a super being we're talking about. So Ted Danson, just in a flash, this super being, says the same apology, the same few lines, but heartfelt and remorseful and vulnerable, and so sounding sort of deeply genuine and fragile and everything. And then it's also got this double potential meaning, because maybe he's doing it as a human might, and he's, you know, dropped his sarcasm and he's giving a genuine apology now. Or maybe as the super being, he knows exactly how the human wants to hear it, you know, how a human wants to hear a genuine apology, and he's just like making it sound perfectly like a genuine apology, but he's a super being, so maybe he's just like inside, he's just like not feeling anything at all, like there's nothing to say that he even has emotions or thinks the same way that the humans do. And so I had these really two complicated acting moments in these two TV shows, and I was telling James later, I just thought that they were wonderful. The acting was amazing. Very impressed. That was very interesting about the satellites all going up and being able to rent space on a rocket, basically, buy space on a rocket. I was wondering if in your reading / learning they had mentioned anything about space getting crowded with all of the satellites, or like the Earth's atmosphere getting junked up. I also love the idea of talks in bars. I think that's really cool. I would have loved that. You're a duffer regarding saying that you aren't imaginative and that you couldn't think of ways to do drawings from your imagination, because I saw your Inktober drawings and you were doing really imaginative things. I was not laughing out loud. I wouldn't go that far, but I was amused by your Inktober drawings. And this isn't a response, but I just have a little question. Do you know how you would go about copying a drawing? Let's say if you were doing a cartoon and you had something that was like the same thing in several panels, like a set of buildings, how would you easily copy that? Would you use like tracing paper, and then how, do you know? Question mark. That's all from us. Bye, Michelle.